The iRobot J7 Combo is iRobot's first hybrid robot mop and vacuum. Usually iRobot have two separate robots, the Braava M6 and one of the Roomba robots. So you have two robots to do the same job that most other companies are now doing on a single robot. The J7 Plus Combo is essentially just the J7 with a mop on the back. The cool thing about this is that unlike any other robot hybrid on the market, the mop is actually sitting on the top. So when it comes to hard floor, it will automatically sense that it's on the hard floor. It will lift the mop up and lower it down and put it underneath. There are a few massive advantages to this because it obviously overcomes the #1 problem that robot mops have had in the past, which is that they can't go over carpet without human intervention to remove the mop. Because this can lift its mop entirely up, way up off the carpet, it can continue to clean without you needing to do anything. And unlike some of the other mop lifting options on the market, it'll keep it well clear so that if you have thick carpet, it won't get any carpet wet at all. Now in this review, I'm going to be mostly talking about the mopping capability because that's what's new. For the most part, it's very similar to the iRobot J7 Plus. As you can see, it looks identical with the exception of this mopping plate. It has the exact same base. And it seems to me that all of the vacuuming and navigation functions are still identical. Just to recap for those that didn't see the J7 video though, it does do really well on carpet cleaning, particularly that deep pile carpet. This is due to that iRobot patent, which is for the dual roller brushes. Instead of having a single roller brush, which has typically got bristles and rubber, iRobot have the dual roller brushes, which means that this first one here will loosen the debris up and then the second one will scoop it into the dustbin. This means that normally Roombas will do a lot better on pet hair, and they'll also do a lot better at deep pile carpet because it really agitates the carpet and gets things up and loosens them. Whereas things like pet hair don't require a lot of suction, but they get tangled into that carpet. As a result, one of the interesting things about the J7 and most of the other Roombas is that they actually have quite a lot lower suction levels. This isn't a huge factor for most real life scenarios, but you will see that it does show up in some of our hard floor cleaning tests. Some of the other patents that iRobot have are for the dirt detect capability, which just means that when the robot's cleaning, if it gets to a particularly dirty spot, it'll then back up and then recover it multiple times to make sure that all of the dirt is actually gone. They also use the dirt detect sensor to realize when the dustbin is full, and they'll return to the base and empty themselves and then continue cleaning where they were up to. Now, because iRobot have patented this, every other robot on the market will continue to clean, or it will have to stop and wait for you to come and empty it before it will finish the job. Those of you that watched my J7 video, the original review of the base vacuum, will remember that I didn't really like the navigation. And interestingly enough, I think that the J7 Combo seems to be doing a lot better. I suspect that it has the exact same navigational hardware, but there's probably been a number of updates and firmware updates since then, and it seems to be a lot gentler and it seems to be a lot more methodical. So the navigation now is actually quite good, although it still does take a little bit longer to learn its map because it is using a camera instead of a LiDAR. What is unique to the J7 range to iRobot is that the camera is actually located on the front of the robot as opposed to on the top. Traditionally, iRobot Roombas have navigated by a camera that's on the top of the robot that looks for reference points on the ceiling and then navigates relative to those, in addition to an optical sensor which is on the bottom of the robot, which is kind of similar to an optical mount. On the J7 they also have a camera on the front. Now this is in theory the primary navigation device, but it's also good for obstacle avoidance and object detection. The camera can scan things on the floor rather than just above the line of sight, and it can see things and helps it to get stuck a lot less often. iRobot have specifically programmed it to look for pet poop and pet waste. Over time they're obviously updating the object library that it detects as well, and it seems to have got quite a lot better in that regard as well. Of course, it does have no-go zones and cleaning zones, which means that you can tell it to stay out of a specific area if you don't want it to go in there because it might get stuck on cables and stuff under the TV cabinet, for example. Or you can set up a cleaning zone. This is pretty cool because you can call it like the dining table, and then you can set schedules so that it will clean just under the dining table at certain times of day without having to clean the entire room. Now, a lot of other hybrid robot vacuums now have gone to another step from here, where the base will actually have the ability to clean the mopping pad, which this doesn't have yet. It still just empties itself. It also seems to just be a drag around mop without without any scrubbing or vibrating motion. Because it has an electric pump, which is a slightly higher quality than on most other ones, you can actually include a floor cleaning detergent in the tank and it won't have any issues. This obviously means that it will do a little bit better on things like oily substances, breaking down those fats and stuff that you get on the floor, and it'll also make your house smell a little bit nicer. There are a couple of downsides to the way that they've got this mopping mechanism working as well. So the water tank on the J7 Combo is one of the weaknesses. It is pretty small, so if you have a lot of hard floor, you will need to be refilling it potentially more than once every clean. You can put the cleaning solution in the container, which is nice. So to refill it, you take it out and it's actually just the water container on top of the dustbin here. And just to double check exactly how much we can get in there, I'm gonna do my best to pour it in there without losing some more Fruit Loops. So out of the full tank there, we are just under 200 mils. I suspect that it is exactly on 200 mils and the rest is on the floor. The other downside to the way that it works is that it will also clean all of the carpeted or mats in a room and then go and clean the hard floors separately. This means that if you have a room with multiple different types of flooring with potentially small segments of each, the robot can take quite a long time and it will be the longest duration of cleaning of any robot that I've actually tested. iRobot have always been pretty stubborn with keeping two separate robots for the vacuuming and the mopping, and they've kind of almost claimed that it does a better job as a result of the two. So in this video, we're going to put it to the test and we're going to compare the M6 mopping performance to the Combo, and we'll see whether you're still better to have the two or whether the convenience factor of having one and probably the price factor as well of having the one outweighs it. So just putting some stuff down on the floor to test the vacuuming pickup. It should be identical to the J7. We're just using the Fruit Loops for the bigger debris pickup test, and then we're going to put down some rice and some other grains just to see how it picks it up. We're going to do this vacuuming test with the mop on because in theory, I think everyone will use it with the mop attached and going all the time. And we should see it lift up when it comes to the carpet. So we've just done a single pass to test the vacuuming performance. And as you'll see on the hard floor, there's still quite a lot of stuff scattered around. Primarily that is just because of the side brush flicking it out of the path of the robot into a place where it's already gone. So because it's doing a single pass, it's not going to go back there and get it again. I expect that after a second pass, it will look significantly better. And this is a problem that most robot vacuums do struggle with, as that side brush is generally designed to flick debris off from the skirting in the kitchen. So it's quite aggressive, whereas when you've got piles of stuff on the floor, it does tend to scatter it around. As always though, this is much more like a toddler's birthday party or something on the floor here, and it's not very unrealistic. Or if it is realistic, then I really feel sorry for you. So over on the carpet, it has done incredibly well, again, as iRobots often tend to do. It has got absolutely every single grain of rice that I can see, and I've got down and had a bit of a look, and it also got all of the hair. Literally the only thing that it has missed was one single Fruit Loop. Now I think it's worth mentioning that most other models that we've tested on this type of thick, rough carpet with the Fruit Loops have literally given up and not been able to finish. In this case though, the J7 has got all of it, and it even returned to base, emptied itself, and then came back to continue. And this isn't super important, but it's also left beautiful stripes in the carpet, which just makes it feel that little bit cleaner again. So just gonna flip the robot over and have a look to see how it has done at emptying itself and to see how much of that hair has actually made it into the dustbin as opposed to getting stuck around the rollers. So, you can see that those Fruit Loops do like to go absolutely everywhere. There is a bit of hair tangled around the brush, and there's a little bit around the wheel here. There's not much that they can do to prevent that from happening around the wheel. The wheel has to be there and it has to be spinning. The brush is done pretty well though, and it will be easy as to clear it off because it's not tangled in bristles. It's just the rubber brush. I may have jumped the gun. There's quite a lot around the edges. Again, it's still not too hard to clear it off, but I don't think that that much will have made it into the dustbin. And the Fruit Loops have jammed the auto empty container. They are pretty big and brutal for the test. So we should be able to see what actually did get into the dustbin though, because it didn't empty. Oh, that's right. It hasn't done too badly on the auto emptying, despite the huge size of those Fruit Loops for what it's designed for. There is a little bit of hair and Fruit Loop in there, and I did notice that when it was emptying, it actually knew that it was struggling because it attempted it a couple of times. I think that overall it's actually done pretty well. So I know exactly what to expect from the vacuuming performance, but I'm much more curious to see about the mopping. So to see how good it really is, we're going to compare it to the Braava M6 iRobot mop. To test them, we've put down some milk, we've simulated some muddy boot prints, and we've also put down some grape juice, which we've let sit there for a couple of hours now, so it's starting to dry out. I'm actually not too sure how well the combo is going to go on the stubborn stains yet, but I guess we'll know in a second. So I'm actually more impressed than I expected to be by both of them. The M6 did a pretty good job in just a single pass, although it was on the deeper cleaning setting. It does go back and forwards to remove the stains, and it did pretty well. I was actually pleasantly surprised, but I did expect it to do better than the J7 Combo, which I expected to kind of struggle with this test. But as you can see, it did really quite well, and there's not a whole lot of difference between both areas, although the J7 Combo did do it twice, whereas the M6 only did it once. I do think that the M6 is slightly better over a single pass, but because it's quite a lot slower, you can actually do 2 passes in a shorter time frame than what you can do a single pass with the M6. So I'd call it about a draw. So now that they've both just finished, you can probably see that the M6's side here is significantly wetter than the J7 side. I presume it's just because the M6 is spraying that water out in front before it cleans it up. I don't know if I should admit this, but I actually watched a few other reviews from other reviewers, and people overall had quite a few negative comments to say, so my expectations going into this were pretty low. I didn't really expect much from the mop. I think that the navigation was actually fairly average last time I tested the J7, but overall I've been impressed because the mopping performance in those mopping tests was really quite good, even compared with some of the active mopping robots that we've tested recently. If you go back and watch those videos, for some reason this has actually done just as well. The navigation has also come a long way. It's a lot less rough and more methodical, and I just had a lot more confidence in it this time. As a result, I actually think this robot is really good for certain types of homes. If you have an entirely hardwood floor home, you may still want to look at something that has more water capacity and does the job a little bit quicker. But if you have a house that is predominantly carpet, particularly if you have pets, the vacuuming performance on the iRobot series is still pretty unparalleled. So you'll get the benefits of that, and it will still do the mopping on the hard floor, but it will just take quite some time. So for that reason, if you have a house with predominantly carpet, but with some hard floor areas to do the mopping, like the bathrooms and the kitchens, and you're not home for most of the time, then this robot is actually pretty ideal for you. We're releasing our Dreamy L10S video shortly, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that one. Otherwise, give the video a thumbs up and ask any questions in the comments below. Otherwise, check out this video for a comparable robot vacuum review.